So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. My name is Dao Gambay, and welcome to another episode of a Lowkey Podcast. And with this episode, I got the special guest with me, 3WAYSLIM himself. This is crazy. This is my first in person, so this is gonna be a really good time to learn more about you, 3Way.
Word.
Where you're from, kind of your story, and
Word.
just more about you in a sense. So,
Absolutely.
to start, a question that we always gotta ask is, what is success?
Man, I think success is when you being your best self. I think that's what success means. I think as long as you being your best self and you putting that best foot forward, you living within your purpose, that's success. I don't think it's a dollar sign amount on success, or it's I got platinum records or a Grammy and that's success. I think it's just living within your best self, living to your max potential.
Mm-hmm.
That's success for me, definitely.
Okay, that's cool.
It's a good question.
Because I feel like a lot of times we try to contribute success with just, like you said, dollar amounts, if I'm in a big house, if I'm driving that new foreign.
Right.
And just trying to boost our ego with those, materialistic things.
Right.
So to continue on, my second question is, tell us more about you, background. I know VA, Richmond specifically.
Absolutely.
We're in the DMV, shout out, home team. And one of those things that Richmond, we were talking about before we started, is the culture.
Word.
Just the people, the environment you were in. And a lot of times, how we don't hear enough about Richmond and the
Word.
VA area. So tell us more about that.
Well, Richmond is a small city. It's kind of like everybody know everybody. It's kind of tight knit in that sense of things, but it's not like a lot of outlets. You feel me? Richmond, what a lot of people don't know, it got like the highest concentration of people and projects in the South.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So the mentality of Richmond is just like, it's like, I don't want to say crab in a barrel, because a lot of cities, a lot of people say that about their city, but it's not really a lot going on in Richmond as far as, we don't have no teams and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's a cool city. Like, the way I grew up in Richmond, I just seen a lot. I kind of seen things from two different angles. I was raised Muslim, so I went to the mosque, but my mosque was right on the block.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Right in the middle of the hood, and that's kind of like where I grew up. And I seen both sides of things, so I was able to kind of add that to myself. I grew up from a 2-parent household. You feel what I'm saying? Dad working hard, mom working. You feel me? I got 5 brothers and sisters, so we definitely had them hard times, you feel me, before we moved into a house and stuff like that, apartments. Then we moved into a house, so there was a little, they call it the East End area, is a little better than, definitely better than, the projects. So we weren't directly in the projects for majority of the time. So, I came up good, things ain't really start changing for me until I got a little older, starting to get 15.
Yeah.
You feel me? You start to get into those, you start to get into the streets, jumping off the porch a little bit.
Yeah.
But I say it was definitely love growing up. I didn't have no super OD wild childhood, regular hood shit that happens, but it wasn't nothing I don't glorify saying it was nothing extra too crazy. Just lower middle class black family, just growing up trying to make it and, trying to live righteous at the same time,
I
be
get
yourself. So yeah, it was cool though.
I get that. So more about that, with the music, I feel like a lot of times, we can talk about this for any family, but for the black family, I feel specifically, music's always a part of us.
Definitely.
Music always drives our story, what we're doing, how we're feeling. It impacts all that all the time. So
Absolutely.
When did it start? When was that first? When was that start?
The funny thing is my father was a DJ, and he was a big time DJ. He was about to get signed. He used to do gigs up here in DC and everything. Rest in peace to DJ Spaz. My pops passed back in '09, but he was a DJ, so music was around me. Actually, I was conceived in my first room was a studio, my pop's studio. So it's turntables around. I got old pictures of him holding me up in the studio. His turntables around, his headphones around, his speakers around, his records around. I still got a lot of his old records. So I always been around music. They was big on Parliament, Funkadelic, and Chuck Brown, and Run DMC and early hip hop. My pops was a hip hop. My uncle, he was a rapper. So, but But like myself, when I really got into it, like, I used to mess around when I was young, like being a kid, like trying to put words together. But when I really started like trying to rap, I guess it was around like 13, 14, like that 8th, 9th grade time. You feel what I'm saying? And I used to play around with it. It started off with battling. You know what I mean? Like any rapper during my age did. We come through that Cassidy time and Smack DVD time when it was real hot, the Philly battle rappers. So, you know what I mean? I was doing that, but I really wasn't taking it serious. And I didn't really start taking music serious until like 2011, 2012. And when I released my first project. Yeah.
That's cool. Because to add on to that battle rap portion, I had, done my research, of course, for this. And I peeped that you had done a TSU surf event.
Word.
And like, I watch battle rap sometimes, so just seeing that, that old school with that new school just clashing together and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think that was in 2019. Me and Surf, we did he was on tour, and we toured up to like Rhode Island. We did some shows in Boston. We did some shows in VA too. And it's just being tapped in. Like shout out to my man's Noah O from Richmond. He brought me along for that, and it was super dope. I had toured twice that summer. I had toured with Tsu Surf, and then I had went out to Cali with my Mune Academy family, and we did some tours out in Cali. Cool. So that was super dope too. So yeah, shout out to my boys.
That's cool. So, like I said, we're going back in time again. So now we're in college. We go through high school, college.
Absolutely.
I heard that you went to Hampton University.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out Hampton, man. I had a good time out there. Hampton was cool, man. I really got to explore myself as a person, as an artist in Hampton, because like, I remember when I was young, like, I had the option of, being in the streets full-fledged or, like, I had the option because I was always a good seller, like, entrepreneurship. Like, I come from that type of family. Like, I remember my pops used to work at Coca-Cola. I used to buy sodas for 10 cents, sell them for $1.50 on my street. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, I was big on that. And when I got to Hampton, I really just got to feel myself as an artist. I kind of wasn't around my usual crowd. You know what I mean? And I was the first person in my family to go to college. So it was like I was able to, really find myself as an artist and as a young man, like growing. Yeah. So Hampton was cool for me. And there was a lot of like, I went to school with some notable artists that's big now in the game or, up and coming. So it was dope.
That's cool.
It was dope, man.
So like with Hampton being a small inspiration, because I feel like throughout life we have many inspirations that kind of combine together and become a collective. So like with those inspirations and your style of rap, as I peep, you have that kind of jazz style of rap. It's real with what you're saying because I say you're a street poet in a sense.
Right. Absolutely.
So with your impact and stuff like that, like how important is it to stay true to you and your music?
Man, I think it's super important because the climate of music and how it's been I think it's getting back a little more, but the climate of music has been a following trends type of thing. And a lot of people sound alike, what I mean? A lot of people make similar music or use the same type of beats. And for me, I started off like, I was rapping on those type of beats, I guess, but I was always inspired by like hearing Jay Dilla beats. Like I was always around a lot of music. Like I said earlier, my pops being a DJ, I was always around a lot of music. So the influences that I got was a lot of his influences, like jazz, early like go-go sounds and jazz and different stuff like that. And then, of course, Southern music. But Richmond is a funny place because it's half North and half South. Yeah. Like, so I grew up, one of my favorite artists is Boosie, but another one of my favorite artists is Nas. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's really split. Like, so for me, I think all of those came into my being as being an artist. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to get on those heavier 808 type beats, but I feel like home over like, that smooth shit, that jazz and those types of influences. Like I grew up listening to Sade and Kim from my pops, but I also had my older brother. I'm listening to DMX. I'm listening to, Juvenile as well. Like so, yeah, man. I just had a lot of different influences that went into the pot and made me who I am just today for sure.
I feel that, and especially with that lyricism, I peeped, your Kanye intro on SoundCloud, and I was really feeling, that story, hearing from you about like your experiences, what you had gone through, and I feel like that's important with music because, like you said, a lot of times we trying to paint a facade, and we trying to make it seem like, oh, we're this way, we're that way, and there's a lot of people acting like that. So you know, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, and like I said in that song, like that's actually one of my favorite joints. But like, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier, like at the age of 15, everything was just fine.
Yeah.
At 16, I'm bagging O's, had a heart full of pride. You feel me?
Yeah.
At 17, I'm trapping pop. You know what I mean? So my life was changing, like. You know what I mean? Especially when my pops got sick and, you know, he passed away. That kind of thrusted me in the streets even more because I got a family. I got 3 younger sisters. I had to get it. You feel what I'm saying? So that kind of thrusted me in the streets. And I'm also in school, too. So I'm living like a double life for real. You know what I mean? So, you know, but it also prepared me to be able to be in any type of environment. And I can go in, I can be a button up and go into an office and handle business. That's where that Hampton come from. But I could also go on a block and feel right at home and, you know what I mean, and give back the right way and still be in touch. You know what I mean? So
most definitely.
It really, you know what I mean, that shit was dope to be able to. I'm a Gemini too, so I got that duality in me.
I get
so
that.
Definitely, yeah.
No, most definitely. And just to like kind of take a small, you know, trip real quick. So when it comes to being a rapper and versus an artist, I feel like there's a difference nowadays because I think everybody wants to be an artist. Not an artist, but a rapper.
Right.
And I feel like people forget, with anything in life, you got to put work in. So talk about your journey. Like what has it been for you when you're seeing people saying like, oh, I want to be a rapper today. Right. What about that work ethic?
I think work ethic is super important. And, you know, when I'm talking to people, I'm also talking to myself. I just think, you know what I mean, consistency is key with anything. I was always one of those guys where I was naturally talented, but I didn't always put in the hardest work that I should have or could have. You know what I mean? And that comes with, you know, sometimes doubting yourself. I think belief in yourself is the number one important thing as an artist, and consistency. If you have those two things, you destined to make it. But a lot of people think they see it as a money grab, or they think it's just easy, and you'll end up spending more money than you actually, you feel me? You'll invest more money than you actually made out this shit. You feel what I'm saying? So a lot of people just think it's cool to get on and make one hit and it shoot up and you get money, but that fast ascension is going to be a fast fall too. You know what I mean? So I think just being consistent and grinding it up and, you know, ownership, I think that's super important in music, and I don't think that it can be a microwave thing. Anything that's going to last, it can't be microwavable. Yeah. You feel me? Like, you put that shit in the oven, you let it cook the right way, it's going to taste good. You feel me? And I try and apply that to my music and how I drop my music. But I got a lot of things coming up this year, you know what I mean? And I just think anybody get into it, you know what I mean? Get into it, you know what I mean? Music is a form of expression, so I can't say that anybody's wrong for wanting to express themselves over a beat, but know why you getting into this shit and actually do some research and study the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you do that, you will have you'll have a better chance of, you know, being long lasting and actually making some money out of this shit.
I get what you're saying.
Definitely.
So back to that work ethic piece, and like you were saying, longevity, quarantine. We all dealt with it. We all faced it. Absolutely. And I feel like more of us prospered from it than most because, like you said, we put the time in. Right. So talk about that experience in quarantine.
The experience in quarantine for me was just really recreating myself, like as an artist and as a person, just working on myself. When you got that time to just sit in yourself, it's kind of like being locked up for real. Like I've been locked up before, you know what I mean, for a short stint, so I know how, like, I was able to work on myself heavily when I was locked up, and it was kind of like the same thing during quarantine. You know, you able to really lock in and key in on yourself. Like, I really tried to push my pen. You feel me? And a lot of people are going to hear the fruits of the labor for me pushing my pen with these next projects I'm about to drop. Like, that's a bet. You feel what I'm saying? And, yeah, like, quarantine was solid. I was able to spend more time with my family. I was able to, you know what I mean, stack up because you ain't out spending money. It put a lot of things in perspective for me. Life ain't promised, and that, you know what I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you don't actually need. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, yeah, just working on myself. Like I said, that was my biggest thing during the whole quarantine thing, was really trying to just lock in on myself. Definitely. I feel
that. Nah, for real. Because I feel like a lot of times with this quarantine, it showed me especially, and I think it showed a lot of people that, you know, time is valuable. Being outside is valuable. Absolutely. You know, networking is so important.
Absolutely.
And the idea that, you know, I feel like before quarantine, we looked at our time like, oh, it's okay. I'll get time
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah, like nothing is promised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I, as I'm getting older, I see that every day. You feel what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's a now or never type thing. Like, either you're going to do it now or you never going to do it. And it's like, what type of legacy do you want to leave? Like, I remember I got the call. I was doing a podcast when Nipsey passed.
Damn.
You feel me? And it struck me like, damn, like, you know, you can really be out of here quick. No matter how much you doing good or giving back, when God called you, he called you. Okay. So nothing is promised, you know what I mean? So it's just like, put your best foot forward. We don't got really time to waste in this short lifespan that we live in.
For real.
You know what I mean? We got to get it.
So quickly, take another detour. Tell us about, because I had to watch the freestyle. That's how I first got introduced. I'm sorry.
Word.
The off-top freestyle was how I got introduced. So tell us about that. Like, because I feel like a lot of times people say, oh, like I got bars. Mm-hmm. But that freestyle piece, I feel like really shows like, okay, if you got bars or not.
Right.
So tell us quickly about that.
I think freestyling and like just doing shit like songs that doesn't have structure is very important for artists, because you get to be free, and I think a lot of people got introduced to me off that freestyle. Shout out to Top Shelf Premium. Shout out to all my guys. They big connected. They done got me played on Hot 97 and everything up in New York. So shout out to them guys. But I just think, I knew I had to spaz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was in my mind. Like, when I go up there, I'm not even going to do no pre-written shit. I'm going to write some and freestyle some new shit. You feel me? And that's just what I did, bro. And I really tried to put my best foot forward on that joint. So it definitely got a lot of attention. Like, when you put work into shit, it's gonna bring the fruits of the labor back. And that was like definitely a big moment for me, that freestyle. Those type of times when somebody give me a beat and tell me to like get it in, it's that time. Like, I hadn't even heard that beat before I got there. You feel what I'm saying? It was just natural. So, yeah, man, shout out to Top Shelf. That shit was super dope.
I get what you're saying. So, also taking more into your music, you're an independent artist.
Definitely.
That's most important. I remember you saying ownership and how important it is to really, like, the definition, own your stuff.
Right.
So tell us about that. Like, why did you want to become an independent artist?
Well, for me, you know what I mean? First of all, I don't think there's nothing wrong with labels as long as you know what you're signing. You feel what I'm saying? I think, labels can put you on a platform to where it can be seen. I remember Nipsey, his first situation was over at Sony. You feel what I'm saying? Before he dropped Bullets and Gunsmoke, I think it was. Bullets, whatever it was called, Bullets Don't Got No Name, whatever.
Yeah.
But labels can put you on a platform, but I think if you got the right team around you, and that come with networking, that's really important. Like, my first mixtape I dropped, Bury Me a 3, I did good. I really pressed up physicals, and I got paid off CDs. You feel what I'm saying? And really put that work in. And then my next project that I did with Don Cannon, like, I was like the first person in my city in the last 10 years to do a Gangsta Grill mixtape. You know what I mean? That was super dope too, but I had to invest in myself with that. You know what I mean? So I'm around artists like, I'm meeting Don Cannon, doing shit with him. I'm around artists like Uzi when he was starting up, like, and I'm seeing all this and learning, and then to see that Uzi had problems with his label. So I'm just seeing, like, relationships and ownership is the most important thing with your music, because I want to be able to drop when I want to, but also, like I said, like, if it's a label and it's a good partnership, then there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's a situation where you just getting jerked and you gotta do certain things or make certain type of music, I ain't rocking with that at all. So ownership is important. And if you know your value and you go in there with leverage, you can make happen what you want to make happen.
Most definitely. So I heard you quickly talk about your team.
Word.
And I wrote it down right here. 3-Way scheme. I always hear that from you. I heard that earlier as well. What is that about?
So 3-Way was a brand that I started back in high school with two of my brothers, Monroe and my man's Ryan. And what we used to do, of course, I was the rapper of the group, so they were more to like the businessman. We used to throw like team parties at real clubs for like 18 and under. Like, we used to throw crazy parties in Richmond. Like, if you from Richmond and you around my age, you feel me, that anywhere from like that 25 to 30 age, you know of us. Like, so we started it like that, and it was like our own entertainment company, our own label. So I started that. I was 16. I remember putting on like business attire and going to talk to the owner of the club. I'm counting racks at 4 or 5 racks. I'm 17 years old, you know what I mean, making it happen. But 3-Way is like our personal brand. My other two brothers, they've since moved on to do their own thing. I'm still holding it down. But Scheme Team is a group. It's not really a group. It's really like a family for real, bro. Like, you got artists like Big Kahuna OG that's also a part of Mune Academy, artists like Monday Night, me, and there's a lot of producers as well. You got Gray Matter, you got Young Los, who produced majority of Max B shit, and he's in Scheme Team as well, and we got some videographers and stuff like that.
Cool.
Shout out my little brother 30 on me. He does a lot of good work in the DMV area. He fire with photography and shit like that. So it's really like a family. We like a collective. That's the best way to put it. And so 3-Way Scheme is like my collective and our collective put together for real. So
that's cool.
You know what I mean? It's just like my team. Like, you could call it Dipset, or you could call it, Rough Riders, whatever. You know what I mean? That's how we coming with Scheme Team. Like, we coming on some real, gully shit.
Real
like,
shit. No, I understand that. I understand that.
We about to get this shit. So yeah, that's all it's about. I mean, shout out my boys.
I fuck with that. So I feel like the whole idea of, I feel like nowadays for us young people, we forget about our team.
Word.
And I was kind of passionate, and I was fucking with how you were saying how it's more of a family than like, oh, these are just like my employees or business people I'm working with.
Right.
Because like I feel like a lot of times when we're going through that process of finding out what we want to do, finding our career, finding out what makes us us, we forget like, oh, I need to have people around me that want my best interest.
Yeah, man. Like, iron sharpen iron, and that's the one. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, earlier, like, my brother, my man's Big Kahuna OG. Shout out to him. He had came down to the 757. I had already schemed and figured out a spot where he was about to shoot his video, so he came down. I already had the spot, and that's what scheming means. It's not a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Like, you really should be trying to scheme every day. You should be scheming on how to improve some shit, or scheming on something to do yourself better, or scheming to find a spot. So it's like our sling for real. And yeah, team is very important. Like, he just came down. I found a spot for him to shoot a video. He just sequenced my album that's about to drop. You feel what I'm saying? So it's just like having that team around you, that iron sharpen iron, like, that shit is super important. And we got a lot of extended family too, you know what I mean? So shout out Fly Anakin, shout out Pink Seafood, you know what I mean? All my brothers. Uncle John, DC Zone, you know what I mean? Shout out all my guys, man.
I fuck with that. So to continue, like, I remember you were talking about when you were making your business.
Word.
Because a lot of times, now we're trying to make businesses.
Right.
We're getting out of quarantine. We're trying to make money. How important is it to brand? How important is the market? How important is that?
I think branding and marketing is super important. How you present yourself is important, because the first impression is the lasting impression. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you meet a shorty, she might be bad as shit, but if her breath stink, you're going to remember that. You're like, damn, she was kind of like, she was bad, but you're going to always remember it. It's never going to go nowhere. So I try and kind of approach anytime I'm meeting somebody or when I'm networking with somebody, that I'm presenting myself in the right way. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's super important, man. Like, and the key to business too, just like with anything, is just being consistent. I got my own businesses on the side, like, you feel what I'm saying? So yeah, man, just being consistent and getting it. That's what it's about.
I get what you're saying. So we gotta take another detour back. So
For sure.
We're tapping more into your story again. So when I was listening to MVP, it was releasing, May 20th, 2019, I was feeling like you would hit another level of yourself when you were rapping. I felt the confidence. I felt like you felt like I had felt like you were now, making your name within this game.
Right.
How important was that album to you?
Man, that album was super important to me, man. I really love that album. And that's why too, I had to kind of not, like, for me, I had to kind of not drop for a little while, and it wasn't purposeful, because I'm really ready to start getting crazy on niggas. But for me, MVP was like my coming out party to the world. That was my me presenting myself as a full artist.
Yeah.
I had a lot of production from Young Los. I grew up listening to Max B, Dipset, and listening to them beats was like, damn, like, who produced this? And I remember I had to find him on Twitter. I wrote him like, yo, I got money, capital letters, big dollar signs in a tweet. And he ended up hitting me back. And so, I was going through a lot, coming out of the pain. Like, I come from the street, so I had a lot of homies that was getting locked up around that time. I had some friends that had passed. My pops had just recently passed. So for me, it was just like me putting all that together in my life story into an album. And that's why I just came out so authentic. And a lot of people, you know, they look at that as a classic, and I had to kind of take a step away and be like, man, the next time I drop, it has to be, I don't want to say it has to be better, but it has to be different. Like, you got to reinvent yourself. You can't just come the same all the time. Like, if you look at any artist that you really love, every album was a step up. Whether that's Michael Jackson, every album was a step up. Jay-Z, every album was a step up. Nas, every album was a step up. Of course, you know, Reasonable Doubt and Nas' first album, they classics, you feel me? And people always go back to them like that's their first joint. And I feel like that's what people gonna do with MVP. Like, that was my first joint that really, you know what I mean? And I love that album. And shout out to Young Los. He did like 60-70% of the production on there. And I was really able to just pour my heart out. I did a lot of recording in Atlanta, a lot of recording in VA. So it was super dope. Shout out to my engineer, G. White, as well. Shit was crazy.
That's tough. Because I feel like a lot of times when you really hear the story and you really hear like what that person's going through in their music, it resonates more and it connects you more with that artist. Word. So another question I got is like, first of all, beats wise, I feel like I really fuck with your beats. I feel like you fuck with the production, and I really fuck with how, you know, you really put it together. So how important is that for you? Like,
man, it's one of the most important things. It's like 50% of the whole process. Like, you know, for me, I'm a type of writer I am. Like, if the beat don't make me want to write as soon as I hear it, I low key ain't even fucking with it. Like, you know what I mean? It could be a song that I sit on, I be like, all right, boom, or a beat that may challenge me. But like, usually I hear the beat and I start writing immediately. It might be 10 minutes in, I got 12, 16 bars almost.
Okay.
Like, them my favorite type of beats, and I just try and get beats that like resonate with me, you know what I mean? And beats that I fuck with. Like, I don't really try and like, oh, is other people gonna fuck with this? Like, I try, if I like it and I think it's gonna resonate, I should try and go in for real. I think beat selection is super important, and like I said, I came from the Jay Dilla, the Nas time, you know, listening to Jay-Z producers and, you know what I mean, DNY and Just Blaze. So, like, all of those types of beats and shit like that is I came up listening to. Like, I got an older brother that's 7 years older than me, so I was listening to, you know, Fab and Black Rob and Big Pun and Biggie as a youngin', and those cinematic type of beats, like, really mesh with me. You feel me? So, And shout out to Virginia again, man. Bink, he really created that Rockefeller sound, you know what I mean? Virginia, we created a lot of sounds, you know, that Pharrell sound. Like, we created a lot of sounds that you know, is just, that has been overlooked, but that really has taken over the game or has legacy in the game. So, beats is super important to me, man. Like, if your shit ain't right, I be having producers send me beats, and if I don't write you back, you know what it is. Like, pardon me.
That is.
You know what I mean?
So, like, I heard you briefly also talk about blocking out the haters. Yeah. That sounds cliche, but it's real, because we have people that try to slow us down because they feel like, oh, you know, what they don't like me resonates and supposed to create everything.
Bro, I'll say it like this, like, you become the fifth person you are around the most. Like, the 5 people you are around the most, that's who you become. So if you're around 5 broke niggas or 5 hate niggas, you gonna become the 5th. If you're around a whole bunch of, you know, if your girl hanging out with a whole bunch of shorties that's not living right, she gonna be the 5th. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I came from an environment where I was around a lot of niggas that didn't have my best interests at mind. You feel what I'm saying? And I had to kind of cut that off and see things. And once I did, and change the energy around me, and once I did, I was able to better focus on myself and better put out the type of energy I was trying to put out. So if you know what I mean, you gotta watch your surroundings. You gotta watch who you around. Like, if your man's not pushing you or the energy not right, sometimes you just gotta love them from a distance. You know what I mean? And it's okay to love people from a distance. Everybody don't need to be in your circle 24/7 and be rocking with you. If it's not a common goal, you gotta let it go, for real. If you don't got a common goal with me, it's just like, you know, we can rock to each other to a certain extent, but it's not gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be long lasting.
I get that.
Word.
So, like, back to the music with 3-Way Gold, because I was listening on the way here.
Word.
How important was that? You know, that was a 2020 single. You know, and coming out with that and trying to bring that that classic vibe? Because that's what I'm getting from that. I'm getting the classic vibe from that. How important was that single for you?
Man, that single was very important because I had recorded that song maybe like a year before I dropped it. Like right after MVP, I recorded that, and I kind of wanted to. I love dark shit, man.
Yeah.
I love dark shit. Like, if you look at the cover MVP, like, even DMX, like, people say, rest in peace DMX, but I was listening to DMX years ago. Like when I was a kid, like, you know what I mean? When I was a baby, I was listening to that type of shit. So, with 3-Way Gold and my project Golden Child that's about to drop, it's kind of brighter music.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Kind of, I wanted to go and tap into some sounds that was a little more, brighter. You feel what I'm saying? So it was big for me. A lot of people was requesting to hear that song. That song and led up to me working on a project with Jay Versace. That, you know what I mean? That song led up to a lot of people picking it up. A lot of people from overseas love that music. I had a fan from the UK riding around listening to that shit the other day. They sent me the video. So it was just like, a lot of people resonate with that jazz type of sound. So I'm like, I'm a push. I'm going to try and craft a project. That was actually the first song that I made for this upcoming project.
Okay, I fuck with that. So, definitely. Like, also with, like, you got all this music, you got all this content coming out, all these projects coming out. Like, and also looking at your older songs and, like, choosing those features. How important is the feature? How important is it making sure that, because I know you can't always match your energy with somebody.
Right.
But how important is making sure that person's on the same type of time you're on?
Man, I just think like being a genuine situation, like fuck with people who fuck with you, like and not only that, rock with people on songs that's gonna push you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you gotta feel like, nah, I want to kill him. Like if I don't got that feeling, I low key don't want to do the feature. Like, or like, you know what I mean? I feel like it should be like that. And I said it earlier, like iron sharpen iron. And I just go with the flow, whatever makes sense. Like sometimes I hear some of my homies on different songs, and I got a lot of more collaborations. Like I'm gonna have a lot of more collaborations coming in the future. But collaborations is super important too because you can kind of. I don't want to put it like this, but you could kind of steal fan bases. You know what I mean? You take some of my fans, I take some of yours. I think that's super important too. So shout out to the people that I'm about to work with and the people that I already have. Like, you know what I mean? We're gonna definitely get it in.
All right, bet that. So before we wrap it up, I want to go back in time again, because I like to go forward and go back.
Absolutely.
So when we going back to Hampton days, we're going back to the days when we're first starting, the whole music career, the whole rap career. Tell us your experience at Hampton.
Man, Hampton, like I said, Hampton was dope. Like, I really got to experience myself as an artist. Like, my first time at Hampton, I think it was, I got there in the summer, so I had to do the summer classes. So, I made a name for myself. I got to battling with this New York dude and, like, murdered him in front of, like, 100 people that was outside in front of the dorms. I was thinking we was in front of Douglas or something like that, or Harkness, one of them. And I had bodied the dude. He thought he was hot. I bodied him in front of everybody. So I kind of built a name for myself. Actually, one of my first dudes I got cool with at Hampton was that most artists know, that's Interscope artist named Jid. And me and Jid, we ended up doing a couple records together. And he ended up shooting out of here. You feel what I'm saying? We still cool to this day. I was DMing him the other day. But Earth Gang as well, they're my homies. They had posted me up when I did the Top Shelf Freestyle the day they did their Breakfast Club. So, you know what I mean? Shout out to them. And Hampton was good. Like, musically, we was everybody was on the same type time. Like, we was trying to work. So I got some unreleased projects from Hampton that's pretty dope though still too, but you probably will never hear them. But Hampton was dope for me, man. I was able to kind of spread my wings a little bit, get out the hood, or at least the hood mentality, and be around something different. And that really kind of pushed me to start making different type of music. At Hampton, I started really going back and listening to Nas like I used to, going back and listening to AZ like I used to, going and a lot of different cultures too. Like a lot of my homies was from the Bay Area, so I had knew about Bay Area music, but I got put on even more to like Mac Dre. I got put on to more artists like some of my homies was from Detroit, so I was listening to Dope Boys Cash Out, Icewear Vezo, like when they was really first starting. And so it was all of those influences that was, coming into me musically, pause, like, but that was building in me musically that I was able to add to myself, chip off and add to myself.
That's cool.
And so that's what I really appreciated at Hampton, was just like the networking between people in the different cultures of the different black people that was there, because everybody was from somewhere different. You know what I mean? So that shit was super dope. So shout out to everybody I went to Hampton with, that I did do music with. If I took your shorty or bodied you on a record or, killed you in a freestyle, shout out to you too, you know what I mean?
Hey, yo. Shit, I mean, talk heavy.
That's all I mean, you gotta talk heavy sometimes, just a little bit.
A little bit. So, before we wrap it up, I heard you briefly talk about also stepping out of your comfort zone, making that change, because a lot of times I feel like we're scared to do that.
Man.
I feel like we look at, social media. I feel like a lot of times people want to say like, oh, social media is the root of all evil. It's not, but I feel like it impacts you in a sense where you're like, dang, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, I came from an era where I didn't see iPhones until high school. I don't want to sound like an old head, but like I didn't, like, depending on when you was born. I was born in the early 90s, so I came from the era that it was no technology then it was a lot of it. Yeah. You feel me? So I come from that shit where I got to see both sides, and I think technology is super important. It's just how you use it, man. It's just like with anything. You can have a samurai sword on you, but if you ain't using that bitch right, like how is it gonna help you? You feel me? It's just like, it's a tool, just like anything else. And it's like, if you gonna use the tool for the better yourself, or if you're not, if you just gonna look at ass all day, or you just gonna do likes, or you can compare yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people do, like try and compare yourself. God created us all different, and He put a uniqueness about each and every one of us. So if we just tap into that and be ourselves, then I think a lot of more people will flourish than they are. You know what I mean? So I think social media can be a tool to just expose your real self, but a lot of people do a lot of faking and being other people on social media. So I think, you know what I mean, the key to anything is knowledge of self. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Once you obtain knowledge of self and you able to know who you are, you can move in that realm. You feel what I'm saying? So
I get what you're saying.
I think that's super important, man. So yeah, technology can be used for good things, but sometimes people just bullshit and use it for whatever. For real. And that's on them.
That is. Nah, for real. So, future plans. I heard you, I heard you briefly talk about the album that's coming up. I'm excited. We're all excited.
Word.
So, besides the album, can you tell us any collabs, any?
Yeah, definitely, man. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna speak on it too much, but Golden Child is about to drop. Within a month, Golden Child will be out. We about to start doing a rollout. We just shooting videos and everything right now. Cool. The project the song with Conway just dropped. Shout out to Griselda. You feel me? So we got some Scheme Team Griselda shit that just dropped. Y'all go check that out. It's called The Fades. Y'all can go to Scheme Team All Stars at bandcamp.com and check that out. Buy the vinyl. You know what I mean? Support your local artists. Support your independent artists. So that we got that just dropped. And I got a lot of projects with people in Scheme Team that's dropping. I got things coming with Big Kahuna. I got things coming with Monday Night. Cool. I got shit coming with Fly Anakin. I got things coming with, everybody in my team. So we really about to just like flood the summer, bro. Like we really gonna try and make it. I don't want to compare ourselves because we not, you know what I mean, fighting with anybody, but like on some Griselda shit, like we about to knock niggas in their head with projects. You know what I mean? And that's just what we on. So, you know what I mean? That's just what we on. So yeah, man, I'm super excited about that, and I got some other things in the works. Me and Jay Versace working on a project. We got a couple records, and so we just working, man.
Nah, man, we excited for you, man. We excited for you.
Word up.
So before we get out of here, what is something you want to tell the aspiring artist, musician, producer, business owner?
Word. Be yourself and be consistent. Those are the two most important things, and I think we've been talking about that a lot in this interview. Just be yourself. Find that thing that's unique about you and expose that. You feel what I'm saying? Because none of us are the same. So as much as we try to be, like, just be yourself. And in business and in music, find a need or find a lane that you can take over. Find something that people need and address that. You know what I mean? So
that's a bet. That's a bet. So we want to say thank you again, 3-Way,
for
taking your time out. We really appreciate it. Hey man, we ready for we ready for the schemes. We ready for 3-Way Goes album. We're waiting for all of the content and music to come out. We're ready for this summer.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to Lowkey Podcast. They've been good gentlemen, gangsters and gentlemen in the building, man, and it's been super dope. Thank y'all for having me. I can't wait to come back in a couple months and, after these projects drop and we chopping it up about bigger shit. You feel what I'm saying?
Nah, for real.
Let's get it in, my man.
It's all about growth, man. Y'all have a good rest of y'all night. Peace.
Like a 7-year boy, damn, I'd rather paint a picture than give it to you. When you don't got it, it's a problem, they bougie to you. Friday night lights, I be asking what Booby would do. Collusion with the scheme members, we make a movie with fools. He the game of death for last drag, and I'm Bruce with a tool, be like water. I need $1 million just to feed my daughter. Try to block me, I'm like a Tachi with the midnight slaughter. It's a bocce, I throw a bullet if it's something you order.